Welcome everybody to another webinar with myself and Teradek. And today we have with us a director all the way from New Zealand, Richard Naylor. Richard Naylor will be with us here shortly. I'm just getting my notes for him because I want to introduce him correctly. Mr. Naylor is a director for R2, his company R2 in New Zealand, and they do everything from custom setups, literally build cool technology and do fun things with it. I love that. I love that line. That's amazing. I wish I could do the same thing. So let's bring Richard in here and say hi to him as well. Richard, how you doing today?
Hi, Derek. How are you?
Very well, very well. How's the weather?
It's a very clear sky outside, but unfortunately, it's morning here, having a clear sky, and it's autumn for us. So the
Hmm.
temperature got down to about 4 degrees. It was quite a hard frost this morning, so a little bit cool, but otherwise we're okay.
All right, all right. I think you could probably tough it out and live through it, right? So
Exactly.
excellent, excellent.
But
So I want to hear from you, you know, a little bit about your past. If you explain to everybody where you've been and what you're currently doing right now.
yeah, all right. This is sort of my fifth career. I started off in the electricity industry and spent a lot of time there, and then in the computer industry and prior to doing the work at R2, I was involved with um, a fibre optic network built around the city of Wellington and the city of Auckland. And because they were Ethernet based,
Mhm.
we also built internet exchanges on top of that infrastructure. So about 2007, the company there was a buyout at the company, and as a result, I decided it was time to go and do something else. And I had previously done some streaming, so I decided I would go full time, and we started the company R2, and here we are. We're still doing it.
Awesome, awesome. It seems to have taken a hold, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you looked at all the gear we have lying around now, yes, you'd say yes. It's certainly taken hold.
Awesome. Um, do you have any of those pictures of that gear hanging around that you could show us? Maybe show the audience here what you're working with.
Just which gear were you thinking of? I know I showed
Uh,
them to you.
yeah, well, we had some photos here of. We also have some photos here locally of the satellite system here that you've been
Ah,
using,
yes.
right?
Yeah, so this is our first satellite setup. We started this about 2004, maybe 2005,
Hmm.
before I actually went out doing streaming full time. So, like everyone, there has always been a problem with is there enough bandwidth for streaming? And um, we worked out, we went to a local ISP who was the agent for IP Star. And so there's two IP Star links. Um,
Hmm.
After we tried different ways of mounting the dishes, but in the end, we essentially when we pull up on site, we climb up on top of the trailer and we would assemble the dishes or put the dishes on the pipes, and then we'd put the feed horn on the front, and then we'd line it up on the satellite and so on.
Right, right.
So that was our first one, and then around about 2015, we got into we'd been bonding since about 2012, I think.
Okay.
But the bonding was really good. So 2015, we just turned off all the satellite gear and we stayed with bonding. But about 2018, we decided that for parts of New Zealand, we needed to get back into it. So and I think there might be a second photograph um,
Okay.
that we
Let's go
have.
back to the photos there if you'd want to go to the next one
No.
there.
So yeah, if I do a screen share, let's
Okay.
see if we can.
Let's do that so you can drive. Like I said, this was going to be off the cuff and a bit
Yeah,
fly
so
by the seat
hopefully
of
you're
our
seeing that
pants.
one. This
Yep,
is
we got it.
set up in Christchurch.
Hmm.
Um, and those are two different satellites. Instead of IP Star, they're using Optus and JCSat, I think. These guys, the sound guys from Radio New Zealand, the reason they're sort of out in the open is that their marquee hadn't arrived. We were
Hmm.
setting up for a memorial service out in the open. You can see just peeping above the blue marquee
Oh
behind,
yeah.
there's a little dish there. So for that particular job, we used 14 connections. So there were, I think there were 10 cellular, the 2 satellite, and that little thing is on the pole above is actually a microwave link. I think it was was it Ubiquity?
Ubiquity? Yeah.
I think it was Ubiquity across to the other side of the park. And from the park, there was a microwave link up onto a high hill where we could pick up an ISP.
Oh,
And
awesome.
the reason for all of this is this was a large public event. There were 40,000 people there, I think. And the radio people had previously had an issue where they had tried using just a single cellular modem. And of course, as soon as the public turned up, everything stopped working.
Of course.
So they came to me and said, we need to do this better. And so yeah, we helped them out, and it was, so if I go back to screen sharing now, you should see there, that's the radio studio set up, and that table there is the morning host, the commissioner of police, and a couple of other people, and there's a fenced area sort of in the background of that. You can see there is, that's actually the media pit, and so they did their sort of 6 a.m. morning broadcast, Good Morning Report, and then there was a memorial service for the victims of a shooting in Christchurch, and so we provided the backhaul for Radio New Zealand.
Okay. Okay.
So
Excellent.
yeah, a bit of a strange one, but that's some of these jobs do get a bit strange.
Well, yeah, they do. They do tend to take all users and all types, right? From what other sort of live production do you actually work on? I know you do some. We talked about some horse auctioning yesterday, as well as other media services during crisis or any sort of issues. You have a lot of different connections that you can go out and help local.
Yeah, I was just trying to sort of see if I could. I'm just flicking through. There's a little bit. So here's one here. This is no, it's the screen sharing is not picking it up.
Okay.
I see why. I just have to go back a bit. So yeah, we do whatever, I was going to say, whatever people pay us to do.
Sometimes that's what it needs, right?
Yeah, so you should see there now that's a web page screenshot. So there's the 2 images at the top. On the left is it looks like our Prime Minister walking into the National War Memorial, and on the right there's a 21-gun salute happening down on the waterfront. And this was to celebrate 100 years after the signing of the armistice at the end of World War I.
Okay.
And so we were asked to stream both. So I was actually at the War Memorial, but I had another crew down at the waterfront. And as you can see, there's a whole pile of howitzers there. They're doing the 21-gun salute. And of course, people sort of said, well, how do we know this is happening? So we had to link the waterfront back to the War Memorial, and that was displayed on the big screen. So
if you can't see it on the internet, it doesn't really happen. So you have to pipe
exactly.
them both back,
And
right?
so we had something like I think there were 30,000 viewers on both streams. So both of them were streamed individually, but they were linked between. So we had something like 60,000 viewers, and then in the evening they did a third event, which was beating the retreat, which is a military sort of thing for the end of the day. And now have I blocked everything here?
Well,
can you still see me? Okay.
I see the photos right now. Are we missing you? Is it not coming back?
It should. I thought I turned it off, but it should go to me now.
There we go. We gotta love vMix. We love the guys, right? Tim, Martin.
Yep.
We're here with you.
So we'll show you one of the things that we learned from bonding, and we'll just have a little bit of fun here because having fun is a good thing to do. So we'll turn on screen sharing.
Everybody takes this business so seriously when we're on site. We have to have fun somewhere, right?
Yeah. So this is one. There's often been a debate with people who use bonding or live view or any of these sort of tools as to, do you clip it on the back of the camera? What do you do? And so we've always said, always carry a lighting stand. And so this is what happens when you don't carry a lighting stand.
Exactly.
So this is a director from one of the news crews out of the UK. and it was during a royal tour, and I think it's either in Samoa or Tonga, and her job was to be the lighting stand and hold the. And a friend of mine sort of said, they find that in the UK, when they go to one particular sports field, they can only get about 700k. But if they get the bonding unit up 3 or 4 meters, they get 8 megabit.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
so we've all known you just need to get it off the ground. And
Yeah.
so her job was to get it off the ground. Now, let me just see if I can.
I
So
think
here's
there's a term in cinema called a meat flag, and I'm throwing that out there. I don't know the validity of this statement, but I've heard it several times, and it's the same sort of thing. When you run out of those things.
This is hopefully you're seeing that one, Simon Burwood in the UK, showing how it should be done with a lighting stand with a battery on there and a Teradek bond at the top of the stand.
The proper way.
And they're doing it the proper way. Now, I think there might be, if I go the other way, oops, there's a bond on top of a stand outside the National War Memorial. And no, these are all different things.
There's a bigger stand with some antennas on it too.
You want to see that? Yeah, so that's
a
bigger stand with some. That's what when we get stuck, we put those on the modems, and we just get a bit of gain and get a bit of better signal.
Right. So I wanted to talk to you about, we had you beta test, and I believe you still have a Prism Flex there with you. And for people that are just joining in that don't know what the Prism Flex looks like, I'm going to go to a nice little overhead here for a second, and you're going to see all the stuff that makes all of this happen in the background. But the Prism Flex is essentially our flagship encoder that goes into a nice rack mount, repackaged and put into a desktop version. So you have 12G SDI in and out, you have HDMI 2.0 in, 2 USB-C ports for modems, and like the Node 2, this new Node 2 here has a USB-C to 5-pin LEMO that goes on the back, and a high gain antenna. And with that, you can do about 150 megs through that modem. This device will only encode up to 85 megabits, but I'm sure that's plenty of juice for getting stuff up. Have you? So, what was your thoughts on this right here, and how this device worked for you?
Yeah, well, I found that it was a really impressive unit. We didn't test it up to 85 megabit on the internet, but we certainly tested it 85 megabit locally. So sitting next to me, I've got it actually running is the decoder. Which way do I go?
The other way. Yeah, that's it.
Yep. So this is the decoder. It is live. It's connected on HDMI, and I've actually got the encoder in the room next door. And so here you have the screen coming through. This is a 4K screen. And it's going, the encoder is bolted on the back of a Blackmagic Ursa G2 broadcast camera, and we're just playing a clip. And we're sending, that's bonding, so it's going to Teradek core, which for us, the nearest Amazon instance is in Australia. So it's going all the way to Sydney. And so one of the things we wanted to find out was, can we sustain a decent bonded feed at UHD resolution to Sydney? And the answer was very simply yes.
Awesome.
So, I mean, if you want, I can. Do you want me to show you inside because I've actually got a unit live.
Yeah, sure. So if you have it up in core right now, right?
I have it in core now. So let's just see if I can.
Let's hop over there.
We go. So there it is here. And for some reason, that's a feed up to Oregon to you.
Okay.
And here is the decoder that is, what is it saying there? Me clicking on the wrong thing. There's the Prism decoder.
Okay.
And you can see that over here it says Prism 067. That is the unit incoming. It's connected to one of our Sputniks. And if we look at the unit here, drop it down. So we've got it connected to 4 connections.
Mm-hmm.
It's running at around 25 megabit. The first Ethernet connection is a fiber optic connection, our normal connection. The second one is SpaceX Starlink.
Nice.
And the one below it at 9 megabit is a wireless broadband through, so it's basically cellular router. And then the one modem number 2 is a Teradek Node 2
Awesome.
on Vodafone New Zealand. So that's happily running at 3.5 megabit.
Lovely. And so your total coming out is 25. At the top, you can see the total there. Sending
Yep.
25. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually picking that up here, and I'm gonna transition to the feed coming directly from you. And it's very nice. It's very crisp, and we're picking it up in 4K as well.
Yep. So I have to explain that when the unit arrived, I thought, I don't have any 4K footage.
Right.
So that was a little bit of a gotcha. So I had to quickly run out, and the nearest thing I could find was we've been involved with press conferences.
Mm-hmm.
So we quickly went off and we recorded a press conference in 4K. One of the other things with all COVID stuff, I'm just going to put in closed captioning, so I can show you that I won't actually generate some captions, but I've just turned on closed captioning. So here on my Teradek core, you see the return feed from the closed captioning, and it should pop through in a minute.
Okay.
There it goes, starting to come through. So you can see that the core infrastructure, there it comes. There's a bit of a delay there, but
Right.
you can see it's coming back and so it's ready for, and so normally when it comes in, we then use the channels and sends it off to another destination.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a whole process that we turn on different closed captioning feeds in different languages. But
Lovely.
there it is. It's still running, and it shows you down below that we're running at UHD resolutions and at 20. It's jumping between 23 and 26.
Yeah,
yep.
Somewhere there.
That's 25 megs. So it's there, and it's quite happy to do that for an hour or so.
Right.
Does that work properly? You're seeing a new
It does.
tab?
Yeah, we've seen a new tab here.
Okay. So this is a different core account, and the one I want you to look at is this one over here, which is actually in London, UK. So that's diametrically across the globe from us, and here it is here, coming in at 25 megabit.
Awesome. No, it's nice and steady and pretty flat coming across the board there.
Yeah, so what we normally do is here, we actually jump in and we, not sure which of these is the right one. Have I confused myself? Yes, this one, I think. So now we're going to send it back to ourselves. In actual fact, we send it to Sydney, and so you should see the original core desktop now.
Yep.
And you see, yeah, so it's coming back it's going to London, and it's coming all the way back. So that's nice. Probably about 3 seconds, 2.5 seconds delay. So if we look at its traffic, and here it is, it's sitting at 25 megabit.
Excellent, excellent. So we do have some questions from the audience here. We have a viewer that's asking about wireless, let's see, Teradek wireless video transmitter 4K at 60. Yes, we are doing 4K at 60, not just 4K at 30, so you can do full 60 frames UHD. Jim Petramilli asks, are the modems external and are there any internal? Right now with this Flex, there are only external antennas. The Node 2 hooks directly up to this, but our future plans are to internalize a lot of that functionality and bring those antennas into the box itself so that we don't have a lot of stuff hanging off of it. It's a lot cleaner look and feel, and it attaches to a camera a lot easier. It doesn't have a lot of stuff hanging off of it. And also, Jim asked, is core required for the Prism? No. With the Prism, you can just use this box right here and go live to a CDN, send it to SRT, MPEG-TS, RTSP. There's a lot of different flavors in here, HEVC and AVC both. So you can send this directly out. Since it has 2 Ethernet ports too, the only requirement to have core is if you are going to bond. If you are going to have external modems and Wi-Fi and Ethernet and etc., you need to have a bonding account and use the Teradek bonding protocol to get that signal up to core. Other than that, you can use this as any sort of encoder to hit a CDN or to send a 4K signal across the internet over SRT if you like. So as far as bonding is concerned and what you've used, Richard, how many? I know we talked about what 5, 7 different devices, 6 different devices trying to bond all together. You showed us the graph there. Did you have any issues trying to get something to bond, and did you have any issues once you got it to bond of dropping signal or having any other sort of technical failures on that part?
One of the tests we did was to have a look at Starlink, because Starlink has become quite popular, and so we decided we would spend a bit of time testing Starlink, and we ran Starlink so we weren't bonding, we were just using Starlink as a single connection, and we sent that straight across, I think we sent it up to core just as SRT, and only to send it somewhere, and then we brought it back and we decoded the SDI stream and we peeled the audio out.
Okay.
We put it into a Sonifex red box silence detector, and we set that and said, because we didn't want to sit there for hours waiting to see if it dropped out. We wanted to be able to go and carry on, so we just left it there. We thought, okay. And we knew from the Starlink logs that Starlink has dropouts. The thing about a normal satellite connection is that you've got a dish pointing straight at the satellite. With Starlink, it's like a cell phone system. With a cell phone system, as you drive along, you switch between cell sites. With Starlink, you're stationary and the cell sites switch you as the satellites pass by.
Yeah.
And so in those handover periods, you do get dropouts. And you get good days and bad days because they've got 2,500 satellites up there. And so we were just looking to see, okay, will there be a dropout, and will the silence detector pick it? And could we use Starlink as the only network connection? And the answer is you could, but you would run the risk that you'll get a dropout.
Right. Right.
And the reality was that we tried bonding, we tried single connections. Sorry, we know what would happen with bonding. We tried a whole pile of different encoding devices, and none of them were able to sit on Starlink as the sole network connection. So we would always want to bond it with something else.
Now, when it is bonding and it's solid, you get a very robust signal itself, right? Like high or low latency, high bandwidth, right?
Absolutely. So in our work, we always bond. Even if someone says, here's the fiber connection, we always bond. Particularly for corporate work, if we're doing an announcement of a dividend that's worth $400+ million, everything is bonded. Failure is not an option, so we just always run bonded connections.
Safety first.
Safety first. Even when we run a telephone conference bridge, we will bond that. We'll take the voice over IP connection over a bonded system. Just because we can.
It's one less thing to worry about when you have bonding set up and you have it set up and tested right. That's one less thing in the pipeline that you have to worry about. There's so many other things in a live event and a live broadcast that you have to worry about. One less thing, especially one of the heavier things that you're going to be worrying about, is that uplink signal. If you can worry less about that, that takes a big load off everybody.
Yeah, I'll give you a bit of a rationale. I'll just share you a picture. Here it is. So, has that come through okay?
Yep, we got it here.
That shows a camera with Teradek bond on top. It's a very old bond. It's the Cube 150 with the original bond bolted underneath it.
Hmm.
And we didn't know how much power it draws, so there's actually a backpack on the floor with a car battery in it. This is from 2013. We had an earthquake in Wellington, and because of the earthquake, they closed the city.
Wow.
And this is the press conference from that. Better turn that screen off. And because they closed the city, all the buildings were closed, and so the TV channels, they couldn't get into their newsrooms.
Hmm.
And so it turned out I was the only live camera at this press conference where they talked about how much damage there'd been to the city and what they were likely to do.
Jeez.
They did get an SND. They got an SNG van. Do you know what an SNG? You know what SNG satellite truck?
Satellite news.
They got one of. Yeah, they got a satellite truck there in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
But for most of the day, I was the only camera that was live at these press conferences, and this was a completely ad hoc. So that's the mayor and the chair of the regional council, and the civil defence controller and one of the local police commanders and someone else. And so I'm part of the media pit that's there. Yeah, that's when we realised how good bonding was. We were the only one who could get out, and we had an audience of 30 or 40,000 because that was the only way they could get any live news. People wanted to know, do I have a job to go to tomorrow?
Or should, yeah. I can only imagine.
So we just have learnt that if you're going to do it, you do it with a bonded connection. So that's why we have a number of bonds. We try different bonding technologies. We work with it all the time, and we have. I'll stop that. We have a lot of different SIM connections that we use. We bond everything. When we first got the bonds, we tested with ADSL, with satellite, with cellular, with fiber. We just tested and they all bonded, and we said this is fantastic. And so we've just been a strong advocate of bonding ever since.
Oh, I imagine. Yeah, once you have it set up and once you've experienced, I mean, most people here who've streamed anything in the past have experienced links dropping or feeds dropping and having dropouts anywhere. Once you've experienced like I said, having bonding set up where it's one less thing to worry about, your mindset shifts to a better show, a better program, looking at direction more than trying to worry about the technicalities of things. So a couple more questions from the audience too. Albert Van Leeuwen asks if there's any plans to get Sputnik back to run on your own hardware, or if that's still for enterprise clients. Albert, we're thinking about that right now, and we're trying to wrap some pricing and ideas and feature sets around that. So it's still a thought. Right now there isn't a plan to release anything just this minute. But I know this is an ask by more than just you. There's several clients, current customers out there right now that would love to have an on-premise Sputnik that they have full control over. So we're still, I don't want to give anything away, and I'm not going to say anything that might get me in trouble by my boss, because who knows, he might be watching this too. Probably not. That guy's busy. But we'll let you know. You and I have talked recently, and I'll keep you abreast of what we're going to do there. When will the Prism with internal modems be available? We're pushing for this year, and that's all I'm going to say. But it'll have 2 modems in it, so you can bond on the device, and you don't have to have any external connections, which is kind of nice. Set it up and go. And I think we've talked about bonding over Starlink. NYC Live Media, how are you doing today? How's the 4K feed with simultaneous live feeds? I'm currently working on live video streaming VR and do simultaneous feeds for my live VR streaming with up to 16 to 24 live 4K feeds. I wish I had your bandwidth. 16 to 24 live 4K feed. What is it? It's a piece of fiber that's this big, and somebody had a flashlight at the end, right? Like that's, anyway, not that matters with fiber. But how is the 4K feed with simultaneous live feeds? So essentially what you're asking is kind of a REMI production where everything gets synced into the cloud. Again, that's a feature we're pushing towards right now. We're trying to figure out the best way to make that work the most effectively. But essentially, you can have as many, I don't want to say as many as you want, but a respectable amount of camera feeds into Core once that does get released, and be able to sync all of those to the last one in. But this is a great thing to consider, especially doing 16 to 24 live 4K feeds. You should probably hit us up and we should talk if you're looking at doing something like that. We would like to add that in as part of the requirements, possibly. So, Richard, have you done anything with VR? Sorry,
no,
go ahead.
not
Go
with
ahead.
VR.
No, go ahead. You had something.
The only stuff we've done with VR is back in the days of standard definition, we worked with animation research, and we were just on the same job.
Mm-hmm.
And we were doing Grand Prix glider racing, and so that with their cameras in the gliders, and so because the gliders are away from the airfield, no one can see what's going on. So animation research had the augmented reality, the VR. So they showed a three-dimensional map with the glider positions on it as the gliders were racing back to the airfield, and then we'd cut to cameras in the gliders. And that was in the days before a lot of this technology we're using now. So there had to be a couple of guys stationed on a hilltop. There had to be a helicopter chasing the gliders with a camera on the helicopter. And there's a guy up on the top of this hill with a 2-meter satellite dish, effectively using it as a high-gain aerial, tracking the helicopter, which was the link to the cameras in the gliders. So yeah, you look at it now and say, I wish we could do that again. It was great fun.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds amazing.
What were you going to
say?
I was going to show you this photograph. Let's just see if I've got the right photograph. This is one I showed you. So let's just see if this comes across okay. Where's that window gone?
It's always hiding behind the last window that you click.
Yeah. No, it's not showing up. I'll cancel that and try something again.
Well, NYC Live Media, I will get in touch with John and see where that is. John, if you're listening, please ping me on Slack or email me, and we'll get in touch and let you know. We'll talk some more.
So, yeah, I have a, let's see if this shares now. Yeah, this is a photograph of inside our van, and so this is the multi-view monitor, and you can see in this row here of there's 5, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a REMI production. So there's 5 encoders in Christchurch. The truck is in Auckland, and we're setting up for a horse sale. And so we just finished a horse sale in Auckland. And the very next day, we were going to be in Christchurch. Now, it's 1,000 kilometres between them, plus a piece of water known as Cook Strait. There's no way we could sort of so basically we used encoders, and we brought the Teradek cubes. We brought all these back as SRT feeds, and so here they are on the vision mixer in the truck. And they were on the main input router, so we just changed the inputs on the switcher from Auckland inputs to remote ones. The unfortunate thing was we stepped out of the van and they had a COVID lockdown, so the job then got cancelled.
Oh no! As with many jobs.
I was going to if I just step through, we can show you very quickly. Here it is. There you are. That's another way of doing it. That's 5 Teradek bonds. We were doing the job in 9 languages, and so there were our company plus another company partnered on this. But we had to keep some of our equipment because we had other work going on.
Right.
So we managed to free up. So you can see there's the Bond 2, there's the Bond 700, there's the Bond, the original Bond with a Cube 150. They've all got 5 or 6 modems on them.
It's like a history like a history of bonds in one Christmas tree.
It's a history of bonds. And that wasn't enough. We needed to do that's 5G routers. And of course, you can imagine all the power supplies. So we had a special power supply rig. There's 12. Some of them are 5G and some of them are 4G.
Hmm.
The reason for it is that we had to do this. Here it is. This is the audio encoders. We had
Oh,
to do it in 9 languages, and we had to have a spare. So there's actually a 10th. In fact, we engineered it for up to 12 because at one stage the client had up to 14 languages.
oh wow.
Um, and so, and you sort of say, well, with HLS streaming, you can actually provide other language feeds, and you could switch it
Sure,
in the video player.
sure.
But we've actually never got that technology to work. We can do it on demand, but never live.
Hmm.
And I think it's because you've got to have the HLS chunks lining up. So,
Hmm.
but that's the big joke. And so overall, I think we worked out we used something like 65 cellular connections.
Wow. And everybody got their own
And
aluminum foil hat, right?
exactly,
There you go.
I can't show and they just everything was duplicated, just massively.
Right, right.
Once again, one of those sort of jobs, and it sat there, and we did this 8 hours a day for 5 days.
Wow, wow. All
And
off of
yeah, we
Teradek
moved a
bonds
lot.
of varying years.
Yep,
It's
yep.
amazing.
And so the other these things here, we didn't have bonds, so we just used cubes.
Hmm.
Um, and so they were just encoders, but they all went into Teradek core, and they all came out of. So everything was recorded in Teradek core in the cloud. So
Okay.
all 9 streams recorded 8 hours a day for 5 days.
Yeah.
There were files everywhere.
And that's
But they were in
that's
different.
before right, that's before camera to cloud or content to cloud was a hashtag, right? This was
Yep,
way prior than what we're seeing nowadays.
yes, yep, yep. And uh, yeah, I can't go into detail of what it was, but it was multi-language, and it was one of those jobs, you cannot fail. And
Right.
we sort of tried to work out how is it. The reason they're mounted together like that is that we wanted to get them off the floor, off the desk. They needed to be high.
Hmm.
Ideally, they wanted to be near windows, but we couldn't. So we had to test for coverage,
Right.
and things like that. It was just one of those crazy jobs.
One of those fun, sort of troubleshooty, crazy, hope everything works kind of job.
Exactly. No,
Yeah.
just
We got
get off
one
the.
response from Albert again. He does ask whether you've tested the encode to decode set with SRT and what the latency was like. Have you gone from Prism Flex encoding SRT to an end decoder?
Yeah, yeah, most
And it's
definitely. We did that, and we did that at up to 85 megabit.
okay.
Uh, we left the latency as the default is, I think, 125 milliseconds.
Hmm.
Um, we we're used to working with a little bit of latency, and we don't look if we want something really low latency, then we'll look at if it's a wireless camera, for example, we would just put a bolt on and not worry about it.
Right. Right.
But particularly if we're talking with a reporter at a remote end,
Hmm.
we tend to um, we tend to just accept there will be a little bit of latency, and that's a good discipline for the journalist to know that there's going to be a delay between the earpiece, um, and so they just need to pause and wait.
Right. Just have a breath. He also is your first customer on Christmas trees this next year too, because he wants you to come decorate and build his Christmas tree for him. I think Albert, I think you're in Denmark, right? So it might be kind of a trip for you to get up there. But you have another side business going of RF Christmas trees for streaming. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Excellent.
Awesome. We don't have any more comments coming in right now. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Where can people find you on the internet?
Oh, it's r2.co.nz. So it's just that's it there. Yeah. So if you go to richard.naylor at r2.co.nz, that will get me.
Awesome.
We can show you a little bit more of the REMI stuff.
Sure. Yeah, I know
Um,
there'd be people. Oh, he's from Holland, not Denmark. It's Sorry, Albert. You know, I'm an American guy, so I don't even know how to get to the store most of the time. I have to get on Google Maps. So,
Don't
um,
worry, there is.
but thanks for watching from Holland, Albert. We'll talk soon. We got some things coming your way.
So this is, I'll just share this. This is a hotel room. So
Hmm.
that laptop on the left is running, as you can see, it's running vMix.
Hmm.
And so there's cameras. The hotel room is in Christchurch, which is our southern island, um, and the cameras were in Auckland, which is in the North Island. It's a horse auction. So there are two cameras. One is locked off as a wide shot, and one is locked off on the auctioneer, which you can see on the big screen, the auctioneer in the top right, and the other one is tracking the horse as it walks around. The blue key is actually generated as a web page. So I'm actually in Christchurch, 1,000 kilometers away,
Hmm.
switching between two cameras on vMix, but vMix is not on that laptop. That laptop is just a virtual screen onto vMix running in the Amazon cloud in Sydney.
Ah, yes.
And
Virtual
so then,
vMix.
of course, we've virtual vMix. And then the laptop on the right is actually just playing it off air. And there was actually, and we always have a laptop where we are monitoring um, our own feed just to prove it is working. And we wanted to
Hmm.
see how good WebRTC was. So the screen above the TV in the hotel room um, is actually taking a WebRTC feed. Um, and it's running. You can see there's a router sitting on top of a road case there.
Hmm.
That is a bonded router. That's a peplink.
Okay.
Um, I'm not quite sure what the room service in the hotel thought of suddenly turning things in up like that. But hey, you know how this works.
I've seen worse, to be honest. So it's not too bad.
Yeah, yeah. And so we've had to do this several times, where we need to have the OB truck in one part of the country, and yet there's got to be a small job somewhere else. So we then just send cameras and we just do it virtually. So
Hmm.
vMix has been really good running in the cloud. We just pull the feed from Core straight into vMix. They both run in Amazon and Sydney, so it's really good. In fact, the latest trick is to use a VPC and have NDI on that VPC inside the cloud.
Hmm.
You just have to watch Amazon build. That's all.
Right. That might go up from month to month depending on your
Yeah.
usage there. So it's just about monitoring and make sure it doesn't run away from you. Awesome.
Now, if you want, I just see that my the file on that camera's reached the end. I can go and rewind that, and then I was going to say, if you want, I can actually just uh, flick the feed through to a couple of CDNs to see how that works. Is that worth
Sure.
doing?
Do you want to show that in Core then?
I can show that in Core, but I'll just share. I just check what I'm sharing on Core at the moment. Yes, there it is. Um, if I want to go to that Core window, so we'll share that. So I'm just going off the microphone for a minute, and you'll see me rewind that file. Just one moment.
Sure. So we will do a Core live stream here soon. I know that was a request on the stream today. Um, is there anything in particular you'd like to see, or just an end-to-end workflow? If you could just add some extra dialogue to the chat there, I'll get that passed over to me, and then we'll come up with something for next time that everybody can take a look at. Amazon Cloud is running. Let me ask when Richard comes back what the latency is over Amazon Cloud.
Sorry, there's a question there.
Yeah, we had a question. Just what kind of when you're running vMix in the cloud on Amazon and you have feeds coming from Core, what's the latency between Core and vMix in that instance? Negligible?
We can't determine it.
Sure.
Um,
It's kind of hard to measure because it's all cloud-based and it's all within the SaaS platform, and it's not anything that you can put a encoder decoder and a timing gate in between those two.
Correct. So there was a question before about how many feeds can we, could they run 16 4K feeds? Well, here we are running 4K, actually 5, because there's a feed to the decoder here.
Yeah.
So we're running 5 feeds of 4K there.
Right, and so just additive property, you're looking at 100 and probably close to 130 to 140 megabits per second total bandwidth usage there.
Yeah, and that's just a normal Sputnik or Helios engine. We haven't asked for the high performance one. And then if I...
and to answer real quick, Tim Manning asked if there was a SDK or API available. I am currently working on that right now. We should have something here shortly, and if you want to stay in touch with us, my email address is derek.nickell@teradek.com. And if somebody on the chat wants to put that in there, that'd be great. You guys feel free to, anybody on here that's watching, feel free to email me. I love hearing what you guys are using, guys, girls, everybody is using doing streaming today, and I'm not out on the ground anymore, so I want to know what everybody's using. So go ahead and send me an email.
So there it is. That's coming off Millicast.
Okay.
A WebRTC feed, getting UHD at 25 megabit.
Right. And the reason why it's a little chunky here is we're still passing all of this over vMix call. So
as a screen share.
Yeah. As a screen share, yeah. And so I can actually take this. This is the same feed you're sending me, right? Over SRT.
Yep.
And so I'll just take that and
go screen share.
Go live now. And so this is the actual file. This is the actual playback in 4K that's being sent 5 different directions right now, without all the WebRTC compression coming back in through vMix.
Yeah, and the other one, I'll just go back to the core. And so yes, there we are. There's 5. So it's 125 megabit we're doing through there.
Right, and that's no slouch. So again, we've seen another couple comments from the live stream. Amazon Cloud runs on as much as 40 seconds latency. Have you seen anything like that? 40 seconds? That's
no,
quite extreme.
No. So there's a number of ways of running. vMix have a guide as to how to run it in an EC2 instance. If that gets too complicated, we took the easy way. We just did it as a Amazon workspace, and that works.
Right.
We can set it up, and normally it takes an hour or two not because of the time it takes to set up the workspace, but there's all the sort of ancillary files, the graphics that we want to get into vMix and set it up.
Right, because everything has to go up to the cloud. Yeah.
Everything has to go up to the cloud. So it's all the sort of, I shouldn't say all the baggage, but it's all the other things you have to do once you've got there.
It's the baggage.
But it's
fine.
Quick...
Baggage is a good term for it. It's everything you got to carry with you on that event. Yeah.
Like for example, you've got that nice background running there, and it's all that sort of stuff. So you sort of say, oh, I need that file that we always put in the background, or we haven't got the keys ready, so we'll get the keys, and it's just all that other baggage you have to do, and
right.
That's where so we have it set up there, and then we just, when we're not using it, we just put it to sleep, and it just sits there and costs us, I don't know, $30 a month or something.
Perfect. Very nice. Okay, so I know Amazon AWS-based vMix latency is even pretty good using external sources, so I imagine using same location-based instances would even be better. Yes, of course. When you have all your instances in the cloud, you're cloud to cloud, and if it's all running on AWS, it should be relatively faster than anything else I can probably do. So, awesome. So, Richard, I don't want to take any more of your time. Albert says to check your 40-second setup. Sounds like something's not working correctly. Albert, you might be onto something there. Maybe if you're pushing the HLS, you're going to get that. But,
yeah.
If you're doing...
If we find with HLS, we alter the chunking parameter, so we get it down. You can go as low as 1 second, but we normally run it at 2 seconds. And we sometimes use Amazon CloudFront. I haven't used that today. we doing that, allowing for the CDN delay through a CDN such as Edgecast, we can get a delay down to 15 or 20 seconds.
Right. Okay.
But that's the CDN delay. It's
Yeah.
not the Amazon delay. So when you're running vMix, you pretty will see it's sub-second delay.
Yeah. When it's all internal, it should be very very quickly, totally
Yeah.
different than the external feed. So.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Richard, thank you very much for your time today. I look forward to keeping in touch with you and hearing how all of your broadcasts go for the next however long we're going to be talking. So, just check in every once in a while, and if we find another good time for you to come in and be on the show, or if you do something cool. I know you're doing something cool all the time, so we'll definitely talk. But let's come back on here and we can talk to everybody again.
Oh, great, thank you. No, they're cool products. They're really impressive. I come from the days when I remember the internet on dial-up. And you see this, and we're doing 25 meg through these little boxes, and it's just
Right.
It's really impressive.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you again, sir, and I look forward to speaking with you some more. Awesome.
That's great.
Thanks.
Thanks, Derek. Take care.
Right. You too.